Good morning and welcome to Jasiri. Now, today we begin the show on a somber note as we bring you news of a heartbreaking tragedy from Ibadan, Oyo State. On Wednesday, a stampede occurred during a private children's carnival held at Basharum Islamic High School. The incident unfortunately claimed the lives of 32 individuals, mostly children, and left several others injured. The Oyo State Government has expressed profound grief over the tragedy. And in a statement issued by the Commissioner for Information and Orientation, Dotun Oyelade, it was revealed that the state government swiftly mobilized the rapid response team to manage the aftermath. Victims of the incident had been transported to various hospitals within the Ibadan metropolis for urgent medical attention. And the Oyo State Government has also clarified that it was not involved in organizing the event and has emphasized the critical need for proper coordination when hosting events of such magnitude, particularly those involving children.
As investigations continue, the Oyo State Commissioner of Police is expected to provide a detailed report to clarify the total number of victims involved in the unfortunate incident. Our deepest sympathies to the families of those who lost their children to this terrible tragedy. And we wish those in the hospital a speedy recovery.
So unfortunately, we have to open with this story, but it's a situation where we're hearing now that there was at least 32 people that lost their lives, mainly children. The investigations are still on by the police, and in situations like this with stampede, someone can't be in the hospital, so there is an unfortunate expectation that the death toll might increase based on the type of injuries that those who are in the hospital have. And if you look at the visuals, it was just massive.
Pandemonium.
I don't think also those who organized it themselves were anticipating that many children or people coming out, but unfortunately,
have they said?
so there was free giveaway. They announced free giveaways. They announced giveaway of something, and that just brought out so many people.
Oh, no. So the thing is, just like they said, you don't plan the event of that magnitude, even if you don't expect people. I mean, there are events where it's raining heavily and people are still dancing under the rain because of free giveaways. Yeah. So you should expect that people will come out, at least in their numbers. Now, we hear that investigations are still going on, but the primary organizers of the event have been apprehended, and while the investigations continue, it's just really sad. Whatever involves children like this, I mean, even with adults, there are stampedes everywhere. But with children, yes, this festive season, this is not the kind of news.
One of the first things, if you know anything about logistics or planning an event, crowd control is so important. Oh, wow. So it was a fun fair.
It was a fun fair. We can see, we just saw a video of the
organizer.
Ife's former wife, one of the queens. She was one of the organizers, and it said that her and the number of other organizers who were involved are facing a probe right now because of this situation. So it's a very, very big tragedy, and I know Ibadan right now, Oyo State even, it's a national tragedy. Let's even be honest. These are kids involved, and I understand the idea, you know, it's end of the year, festive. My goodness.
That's a lot of children. That's a lot.
You want to give kids something fun to do, something, you know, with other children to, of course, be part of. And then at the end of the day, it now turns into a tragedy. And as you were talking, we've seen situations in Lagos. One of the reasons I don't like end of the year is the crowd. So you will not catch me at a mall.
Exactly.
Nope, end of the year. Nope, I won't do it.
Be at home.
Even concerts or if I'm not getting my VIP sitting,
I don't want to be there.
I don't even be there. Yes. It can sound very elitist, but I've been in situations where Nigerian, not even just Nigerian crowds, period.
Yeah.
But I think with us, we don't also really have a safety culture. So
we don't.
You go to events where there's no idea of where the exits are. I really appreciate some of the people, some of the events I've been seeing in the past few years. They have an HSE officer come up and talk to you and tell you this is where the exits are. In case of emergency, you follow these lights. There's a medical station out. Please don't rush. Please don't push. Because in a stampede, a lot of the times it's that initial people who get pushed and then they can't pull.
And it doesn't always even, well, it does help, but it's not 100% guaranteed that people would listen to these officers. I said that I was mistakenly, I found myself at a cinema last week because I didn't plan to. Once it's December, I don't go out. And like Tolu said, it's not an elitist thing. It's just, you know, the crowd is uncontrollable. Just at the cinema, people were, because they couldn't go in immediately, they were cleaning the People could not wait for them. I don't know why. The movie had not started, but people were already lining up in front and were ready to push regardless of what they had said. It's like whatever instruction just came in one ear, flew out the other ear, and then the normal Nigerian spirit just entered. So Nigerians generally they're not used to being coordinated. I'm sorry, I don't mean this as an insult, but no matter the instruction, you just still see some people who want to enter first for some reason, or who want to exit first. It just becomes very, very disorganized.
And you can imagine in a place like the cinema where it's supposed to be very controlled.
Yes.
It's a private little contained space. Then you imagine being out here in the open, like, because I looked at the footage of the fun fair, and there doesn't seem to be any crowd control whatsoever. It's just people moving freely.
And it was a lot of children.
Yes, there were too many opportunities for
not
bad
enough
things to
adults
happen.
coordinating.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you know, as we're saying this, and I want us to be very clear. None of this is the children's fault. So we've taken it from a conversation just about the fun fair to a larger societal conversation because we're not. I don't want anybody to mistake what we're saying as us blaming the children for this. But we need to look at a wider societal context in this. And what Blessing says is very right. So when I was growing up, so even now, if I go somewhere, I'm looking. I want to be able to see the exit.
Yep.
Where is the exit?
Yep, that's the first thing you look out for.
I'm like, where is the exit? What is blocking the exit to the exit?
Yeah.
I've been in places in Lagos, in Nigeria, where the exit is locked.
Yep.
And I go some places sometimes. I tell my husband, I say, you know what? If we were a serious country, this establishment would actually be sealed and fined.
Yes.
Because depending on the number of people who are meant to be in establishment, that is the number of exits you're meant to have.
Yes.
Then the exits are meant to be clearly marked. And they're never meant to be obstructed or locked in any manner. Yep. So beyond this tragedy, I think it also hopefully calls for a moment of self-reflection nationally on how we respond in emergency situations. We haven't heard fully from the state government in whatever they had issues in maybe mobilizing an operational team to it when it happened. But there's a lot of conversation. But at the end of the day, children have died.
Many
people are injured, and we need to make sure that it doesn't happen again. We are a country that likes to say never again, but unfortunately never again does become again.
It always happens again.
Always happens again. It's a sad thing, but we needed to start the show today focusing on this. Again, our deepest sympathies to the families of those who lost children and to those who are recovering. We wish them very speedy recovery. We hope that the death toll doesn't rise. And we'll be bringing you more information on this as, of course, the information comes out.
Definitely. We'll be following the story. But in the meantime, we'll go on a short break. That's not all the story that we'll be discussing today. Jasiri has more in store for you. So stay with us. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to the show. Now, don't forget that you have an opportunity to be part of the show today. Please join the conversation via the number that is showing on the screen or through our social media handles. We are at News Central TV. Now, let's talk about someone that we've given flowers to on this table, and that's the Lagos State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab. Now, he's been on a campaign to clean up the streets of Lagos, as you've seen, not just of waste and dirt, but also those considered miscreants. However, the latest cleanup exercise is raising a few eyebrows here and there. Now, on his X page, he shared that the task force had on Tuesday continued its raid operation against persons constituting public nuisance across the metropolis. Major routes raided includes Awolowo Way up to Falomo Roundabout, Ikoyi and Ozumbambadiwe Avenue along Lekki Road. This is in a bid to arrest and get rid of destitutes and miscreants causing public nuisance in the areas. Let's watch the video and then we'll talk.
During the operation, 27 individuals, including 15 minors, were apprehended for engaging in unlawful street begging and other activities causing disruptions in vehicular traffic. This follows a similar operation recently where 51 individuals were arrested during a night raid targeting hotspots for destitution and street miscreants. The state government said that all those apprehended will be transferred to appropriate government facilities in line with existing laws, with minors receiving particular attention to ensure their welfare and rehabilitation. Now, ladies, you know, we talked about the 51 people arrested, and yes. I can even tell you just now that even just last night again, Tokunbo Wahab posted once again that another operation held somewhere in Lagos where they also arrested more people. He said that they arrested, I think it was 75, let me not use the word arrest, apprehended 75 individuals comprising of 5 females and 70 males suspected to be miscreants and street traders. Now, the operation aimed at maintaining law and order and ensuring a cleaner Lagos was conducted across key areas, including Ikoyi and Lekki Access, Lugard Avenue, Burdalon Road, Glover Road, Admiralty Way, Lekki Estate Road, Ikate and Oniru Road. In the Victoria Island Access, Amadou Bello Way, Sakatinubu Street, Adetokunbo Ademola Street, Violet Chu Close, Adeyema, Alakija, Eko Hotel Roundabouts, and Ajose Adeogun. And he said that the arrested individuals will face prosecution in accordance with the relevant laws of Lagos State. But I think the particular video we showed, the concern is with the children. Yes. Yes.
So for me, it's more about what is being done to the children after they're apprehended than them taking them off the street. Because if it was a system where I knew that we could trust these people with the children, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. If we had facilities that catered to these children, you take them in, you care for them, maybe until their parents, and then you try to find out if the parents are actually capable of taking care of them. I'm not saying it's good to separate them from the parents, but I personally have never really been cool with parents using their children to beg. No. So for me, it's more about what is being done to these children after they are taking. But what is it with them not wearing uniform? Because that looks like a kidnap.
You see, I feel like it sort of comes back to the lawlessness that governs Nigeria as a whole. So even when you're doing something that is commendable, because it is commendable, these children should not be on the streets. They should not be weaving in and out of traffic.
It's commendable only if they're not locked up somewhere and being punished for being on the streets.
So it speaks to the lawlessness of Nigeria, because now you've got people who are taking kids. They're not in uniform. There's no way to identify them.
Exactly.
So what stops me or any random kidnapper from coming and saying they're an enforcer?
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying? And they can just go and pick any kid from the street and take them to the bush and, do whatever it is that they do to children that they kidnap.
So they said there's a bus that has, I think there's a bus, we can't really see the
I'm looking around for a branded vehicle.
So there are buses that they're putting, but even the buses don't look like they're...
Branded, yes.
So that's one thing I think Tokunbo Wahab and the ministry need to take into consideration. The fact that people want to know who are these people,
they need to
wear
be
uniforms.
Identifiable.
But then they might also feel like if they're wearing uniforms, even that they're running now. I was really concerned with any of these children running into oncoming traffic.
So I would rather have them wear uniforms in an unbranded car. So you drive up to them and come out. Yes, they're not wear uniform without a branded car, and then you're taking them.
Anybody can just pick up this initiative.
Yes.
And especially, let's be honest, we know the climate we're in this country. People go missing for nefarious purposes, and you doing something like this can open up the lines for less noble intentions to be carried out.
And it's like every attempt that these people make is an attempt to evade accountability, because I want to be able to see that it is officer so-and-so that took this child. So where is this child? Because now, no matter the faces we're seeing, everybody can deny it. Did you see my name? Do you know my name? It's not me. Yes. So I don't buy that you're just...
There are several other issues I have, and I think we need to also highlight that. In these situations, what can often happen is, you were talking about people using their kids for begging. Sometimes their kids are... The adults that we see are not the parents of the kids.
That's another thing.
Yeah. I can never, ever forget that story. I think it was a BBC story I read about the young boy who was kidnapped, and then his sister saw him how many years later, I think at a Shiloh night or something, so many years later, and this boy had been walked from wherever he was kidnapped, I think it was somewhere in the north, to Niger, back into Nigeria, all around Lagos, and you'll just see him, and it was a very intensive, long story, but at the end of the day, not all of the children that we see with some of these adults are their children. Sometimes they are kidnapped, sometimes they are borrowed, they're paid for. And let's also be honest. We all know, we've all complained in our vehicles and public transport that where are these children coming from? That there are too many. There's a particular street in VI, when I go there, the one that leads you to Landmark side, and you get to the junction where there's an eatery, and everything. Recently, I've noticed in the past year and a half, it's not just children, it's a group of boys, about 14, 15 years old. Sometimes there's 6 of them, and they wait for the light to stop you, and then they come to your car. And they're not standing. Remember, it used to be a situation they'll stand in bed. Now they're here. Now these boys are knocking on your window.
And even when you want to move,
they actually jiggle your handle.
So what are we talking about?
And even when you want to move, you have to like...
So that they get out of the way.
Yes.
It's a situation that Lagos has to be aware of. We may not, I think we're going to perfect the operations as we go, but at this point in time, I'm going to give Tokunbo Wahab his absolute flowers because I don't feel, at night, I don't feel safe, even during the day now. If you go, again, as I said, sometimes it used to be they're here. Now they're on your window, they're pressing it, they're telling you, oh, see that 200 naira, give me. Or even if you have food, give me.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were saying about his flowers, I'm just going to point out that Tokunbo Wahab does have at least some track record for being very passionate about the things, the causes,
and they're receptive to
feedback. And he
feedback.
actually does follow through to some extent. So that is definitely something to look out for. I think that, like you said, with more iterations of these things, they will hopefully be better tuned, more fine-tuned.
So maybe some of the other measures can be fine-tuned, but this is a security, we have a security crisis on our hands. I don't want a situation where they will now come and do a press release, oh, we don't know who came to take the children. We don't want that. So for a start, let's focus on that. If these people are clearing children off the street, this is a very busy period. If they're clearing children off the streets, let's know who is taking those children.
I agree with that.
And what is happening to them
Transparency.
and how long they're supposed to be there, what the plan is for their upkeep, their welfare, and their release.
Because release to who? Because they're minors. You only release minors to adults. So what parents can come and prove
that this is my child?
Yes.
And I think that's one thing that they need to also focus on before you release any child to any parent. In fact, make sure that even if they are the parents, make sure that they are capable, because we don't want those parents using the children to go back to the streets to beg. So that's another thing that can be adopted.
Well, in the north, it's called the Almajiri system. I think you all know about the Almajiri system, where children are almost bred and trained to be beggars. And they take this money that they make off the streets and they take it back to the, let me not call, I don't want to,
to someone, to an overseer.
Exactly.
Because oftentimes,
it's a business.
So oftentimes what we don't note is that when these kids are on the street, there's actually someone not far away who's watching them. So every time there's money given to them, they go back and give that person money. This is a larger problem.
It's an enterprise.
It's an enterprise. It's also a problem that a cosmopolitan city like Lagos is facing in the midst of all the other issues that Nigeria faces. So some people might say, are we punishing poverty? Are we criminalizing poverty? But I think it has to be a very transparent conversation. Because I know there are many Lagosians out there who will see these children and be like, I believe that the time I was robbed, it was a child that was used as an informant.
Yes, of course.
And I remember, see, I can tell you, I believe that when I was robbed, it was a child, because I saw one child going back and forth. I can never forget it. I saw one child going back and forth, and I didn't just clock it. But you know, that was a situation. And then let's not also ignore the fact that at the end of the day, we want a Lagos that is more secure and cleaner. But it is also a Lagos that is in the 21st century. Having children or adults on the road begging has no place for us.
So I had this conversation, and I'm like, look, again, we're not trying to blame the children, but I would never, I'm sorry, but I don't give children money because it's not for them. It's for the people that are. And I've always said it, if as a child or an adult sell something I'll buy, I don't give money because it's like we're endorsing it. How much money do you want to give them in a day? It's like you said, it's a franchise, and I'm not going to use these children to endorse those behaviors. So I like that this has been done, but let's just do it the right way.
So there are actually reactions, and let's take some of those reactions to what Tokunbo Wahab has done, or what the Lagos State Government has done. Someone says, Ariola said, I hope the state had planned for this apprehension up to deterrence, possible rehabilitation, and deportation. That's mere chasing them off the road won't proffer a lasting solution. It's being allowed to fester for long, so now we have loads of them in every part of Lagos. We have another one. Commendable action by the Lagos State Environmental Task Force in addressing public nuisance and street begging. However, I urge the team to prioritize safety during such operations. Chasing suspects with vehicles in heavy traffic poses significant risk to lives.
Yes.
Please treat them with love and care as you hand them to the relevant departments. They didn't ask to come to this world. They are victims of circumstances, victims of the failure of our state, and victims of the cultural disaster in northern Nigeria. God bless you. Who else do we have? Sir, can they wear uniforms or use officially marked government vehicles accompanied by uniformed law enforcement officers just to protect the integrity of the process? We don't want kidnappers picking children on the streets and the public to assume that they're government officials. Just what you guys just said. Now let's take some others. Don't tag them as people constituting a public nuisance whereby the same government neglected those children. Imagine if they were your daughter's son. Would you want them to be tagged that way? They are children who need our guidance and love. Then we also have Egban Tokumbo. You actually know where to start this thing, but you chose those who are harmless for ops and media fantasy. Oshodi Oke is full of these miscreants. Oshodi Saleh, Bautu, Orile, Yanakwaja, Elekwoja, Oke, Koto, Abule Egba, Underbridge, Ekoro, Agbalek. Let me stop
just go
let me stop there before I kill it. All right, we have Emmanuel on the phone. Emmanuel, join the conversation. Let us know what you think about the stories we've taken so far.
Good morning. I really appreciate what you ladies are doing. That's a good topic. These are topics people don't really give attention.
So what do you think? Do you agree with what the Lagos State government is doing being done?
Are you still there, Emmanuel?
Emmanuel. Oh, we'll see if Emmanuel can call us back. I know this one is definitely one that a lot of Lagosians in particular will be
have opinions
about, and I think our opinions were also reflected in some of the feedback that was given to them as well. There's another story we need to touch on, ladies.
All right, we're going to move on to the next story really quickly. NAFDAC has shut down a market in Abia over fake expired products worth 5 billion naira. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control announced it shut down 150 shops in Eziukwu Market, Abia State, during a 2-day operation on December 16th and 17th, 2024. Annie, come on, 2024. According to NAFDAC, the enforcement exercise uncovered a large-scale network involved in the production and distribution of counterfeit and expired goods, including beverages, carbonated drinks, wines, spirits, vegetable oil, and revalidated food, such as noodles, powdered milk, yogurt, and a couple of other things. The counterfeit items destroyed during the operation were valued at 5 billion naira, you guys.
We needed to restate
the 5
value.
billion naira.
Now, NAFDAC's Southeast Zone Director, Dr. Martins Oyo Made, expressed disappointment over the persistence of illegal activities, describing the market as a hub for counterfeit and substandard products. This comes despite an agreement signed by market leaders in December 2023 to combat and expose counterfeiters operating in the market. It also comes after several operations of similar nature, including a warehouse in Okiafa, Okota, Lagos, stocked with unregistered and expired supermarket items. The agency also dismantled an illegal alcohol packaging operations at Article Market in Abule Osun, Lagos State. Now, there was an illegal production facility in Iba, Lagos, for manufacturing unregistered cosmetic products. NAFDAC officials raided the premises, apprehended staff members, and confiscated various products, including body washes, cleansing soaps, lightening creams, children's skincare items, and packaging materials. I think, so, number one, we need to...
Can you see what is on the screen?
That's what I'm taking a moment to just take it. This is...
So we need to prioritize, because I know that I make this mistake a lot, but I think that we've become too relaxed, that we no longer check like the expiration date of things, we no longer check...
That is fake. Blessings.
They just change it.
That's what they said, revalidated.
Food. They just change it.
Items that have even expired, they will put another label on top of it so that it
expired food, they keep it there for like 4 more years.
The expiration date forward. You're talking about big brands, known brands, not known brands. I'm even concerned about the fake cosmetics company that's doing skincare products for kids. So at this point, drink water, only buy fresh food, but come on now.
How many people can afford that? How many people can find that?
And how often do you have it?
Yes.
So we're talking about yogurt. Do you know how many families in Nigeria give their children yogurt?
Yeah.
It's a massive thing for many people because it's a way they'll say, okay, I'm not going to give you a fizzy drink or a carbonated drink. Let me give you yogurt
something that's
that
a bit
gives you
sweet.
something.
Do
you understand?
Oh, wow.
This, at the end of the day, this is not poverty. This is sheer greed and wickedness.
It's wickedness.
So you can't trust what you're drinking. You can't trust what you're putting on your skin. Are we okay as a country?
No, we're not. Clearly we're not. But
obviously
I think we have to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we're going to absolutely keep talking about this very just mind-blowing topic. So after the break, we will finally as well get to a story that we have wanted to really, really, really dig into. We also want to hear what you think of what the UK politician, Kemi Badenoch, our favorite, has been saying about Nigeria. Join the conversation and call us when we...
Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, time is not on our side. We have a big breaking international story we also want to touch on. But just before the break, we looked into the conversation around NAFDAC shutting down a market in Abia State over expired products worth 5 billion naira. Now, 150 shops, guys. 100, not one, not two, not three,
10, not 10, not 20.
50. 150 shops were engaged in illegal large-scale production and distribution of counterfeit and expired goods, including beverages, carbonated drinks, wine, spirits, vegetable oils, and revalidated food products such as noodles, powdered milk, and yogurt. And then we talked about all the raids that they've had. There's even been a raid on an illegal cosmetics company which has been producing soap, skincare for children.
For kids.
God,
so you see, it's one thing if we are finding local ways of making things. Because let's be honest, there were ways that things were done before we started importing. That we have like our local black soap and things like that. So it's different. But if you're trying to imitate another product, there's stuff that you have to put in there that is clearly toxic for it to mask or look like the product itself. And that's what I don't understand. Why can we not just make original local products and sell them as that?
They'll tell you that Nigerians don't like Nigerian products. That if once you put a brand on it and it feels like it's imported, see, the fake alcohol is coming, it's imported or it has a brand name. That's the one we goes towards. And I'm going to tell you guys, even though I know Italawa, I will be out this dirty December. But be careful
what you
about
put in your body.
even the drinks at clubs and lounges. And I'm not saying they're the ones who do it. They're buying from.
They're buying cheap.
They're buying from agents or they're buying from people who supply in the market. They themselves may not know that what they're bringing into their clubs to sell is fake. So you know how many people just wake up and say they have food poisoning, they have runny stomach,
liver disease.
Kidney disease, liver disease is on the rampage here. It's probably tied to a lot of the products we're consuming that are fake or expired or just whatever created. Look at this.
I mean, look at the environment. Listen, even if for what, let's say that they're getting everything right in terms of the content, the ingredients. Look at the state of the plant it's being. Look at that bucket. Look at that wall.
And you'll be wondering why you're getting like a cholera even with bottled drinks. Look, this is just downright criminal, to be honest. It's not about finding local solution to global problem. It is downright criminal. And I think that a lot of times we fall into this because it always has a tail. Most times it's cheaper. It's cheaper. More affordable. Yeah. But then you hear a lot of people say, I used to patronize these people before, but they're becoming unnecessarily expensive, so I'm going to go for the cheaper option. The best thing is to just stick to the vendors. Although you can't even trust anybody. That's the truth. Yes, you can't. Yes, man.
It's a dangerous place. So as families, as individuals, we just have to take our health more seriously. And that's why I said last time we had this conversation, NAFDAC also needs to do much more of a campaign with Standards Organization of Nigeria. with National Orientation Agency. How do we know that this item, is NAFDAC approved? NAFDAC recently, also on their page, they talked about some infusions. I think some injections that came in that are not meeting their sterility, requirements as well. So there's a lot of that. So NAFDAC, work with us. We're happy to see NAFDAC being this active. I think it's been a while for many people that we've seen them on this sort of these campaigns. But we need education and enlightenment. We need to know what people should look for. If they have questions about a product, where they can go. Because let me tell you, even me,
sometimes you can't tell.
Do you guys remember the soy sauce? Amoy.
So you had AMQ
fake in my house.
There were so many
even the Vaseline we saw.
There were so many different Amoys.
So we all need, and we're asking that we all need education on this. Help us to help you so that we can also call out. And I'm so sorry, 150 shops, people knew.
Of course,
nobody spoke. Everybody was okay with the fact that they were going to sell expired and faked products around this country. That's also an issue for me.
What is worse is that the people that knew, part of them were buying and consuming. Let's be honest. There are women who knew
and
this thing is fake,
cheaper.
but it's cheaper. So if it's not going to kill me today, I can manage. And that speaks to the mind. Yes,
it's
speaks
true.
to the mindset of people.
True.
There are people who look at a expiry date on a thing and I'm like, well, it was just expired for like a month. I just don't use it. There are people who think like that. So it's
there are people who even know
that
they buy things on the street and they see this thing tastes different. But
anyways, at least I'm not dropping dead now. And that's how
you can drop dead in 3 days. No. We have to change. We have to change our minds. So, ladies, it's a toss-up. We have just about 10 minutes. If we rush Kemi Badenoch again, I'm going to be upset. But then, you remember I told you we have big international breaking news. Which one would you ladies like to take?
We need to take our time with Kemi Badenoch.
So we move it to
I'm tired of that lady.
I know. We're all tired. But we haven't really dug into the conversation as much as we wanted. So what we're telling you is that internationally, we've been following a very big story coming out of France. And that's the story of Giselle Pelicot, the woman who found out that after almost 50 years of marriage, her husband had been drugging her for nearly a decade and inviting men into their home to rape her. Now, just a few moments ago, a French court, 5 judges convicted Dominique Pelicot of making and distributing sexual images of his adult daughter and the wives of his sons, and they have found him and all the men that have been on trial guilty. We're talking about a nurse, a lorry driver, a soldier, her neighbor. I cannot get over the fact that her neighbor was also a repeat offender. He would rape her, and then he would see her on the streets
and say, hey, neighbor, good morning. And by the way, you missed 51 men. There are 51 men, fathers, brothers, friends. These are people who go to church or have some sort of religion, and they all partook in systematically abusing this woman.
It's a horrific story.
I would say kudos to her because I think that there was a situation where they said that if her identity was hiding the men's identity, and then she
gave up her privacy.
I don't care because, so I big ups to her for that. And I wish that the husband especially had a longer sentence, like consistent life. How do they say it?
Concurrent. It's concurrent, concurrent and something life sentences.
Yes, so I like to see it in the case you get out of this one, you enter another one. I wish that was the case.
So what we know so far is that the panel of 5 judges have found all 51 men guilty of rape. They were accused alongside her husband, and most of them denied the charges, saying that they did not know that she did not consent.
Please, don't
I think that's a part of the conversation we need to talk about. So many men feel that a woman's consent is secondary to their desire.
Exactly.
That whatever they want of a woman, regardless of whether she wants it, that comes first. So they're saying that her husband told them that she was okay. So therefore, they went ahead to rape an unconscious woman.
And I think this leads us to a bigger conversation about consent. I mean, across the world, clearly, this didn't happen in Nigeria, but I'm telling you, there are women in Nigeria who have been raped. They either do not know it, or they can't say anything about it because it's like, I'm supposed to, or he's supposed to be able to do whatever he wants. I mean, or if I said yes before, then it's an everlasting yes. And that is not the case.
Another thing that, again, we need to be educated on these things because a lot of women, especially in Africa, feel like they cannot speak up about rape because what were you two doing in his house?
What were
they don't understand that, look, even if even if a woman had agreed before and then lied down and she says, you know what, no is no.
Consent has immediately
we are
been
not
withdrawn.
going to. We're not going to keep saying that. What were you doing in the house? You two, you were on the bed. If you didn't want to, you shouldn't have been there. We should not continue that conversation because a no is a no. If she changes her mind, she has every right to change her mind. Yes. So you don't say, oh, because you're in the house, at least you came to my house for a reason. No.
I think we were saying during the break that consent is supposed to be conscious, consistent, enthusiastic. I mean, there's certain things that you
want with consent. And as you talked about it, I agree with those who say that Nigeria has a rape culture.
Oh yes.
We silence,
1,000%.
we shame, we just push it to the back, we enable, we protect. So you have a system in which, a systematic system that many people are trying to change, and the change is slow, in which we continue to enable these situations.
Oh, yeah.
And this thing that Giselle Pellicott has done, I said it, that she's my woman of the year.
Fantastic.
Because I cannot imagine, one, France has a privacy statute for victims of sexual assault or anything like this. So she didn't have to share, and as you said, she waived it.
Yeah.
She said that she wanted their names and their pictures out there. So one, she's my woman of the year, first of all, because I cannot imagine sitting in court and having to listen to the evidence against your husband of 50-something years of how he set up a website.
Everything they did to you.
He went and got people, recruited people. Guys, don't forget that there was an HIV positive man among them who went back to rape her multiple than 2 times.
So you know
knowing his status.
You know what this speaks to? You were talking about her waiving her privacy.
Anonymity, yes, that's what I was looking for.
I think women everywhere should take some sort of courage from this. Yes. You know why? Because one of the things that rapists count on is the shame of what they've done being transferred to the victim.
Yes.
And the woman carries the shame forever, for some women forever. And shame, it has a way of cocooning you in itself. And all of a sudden, all you can see when you look around yourself is that thing that you're ashamed of.
Fingers pointed at you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that way, you have exonerated the rapist from any accountability whatsoever. But her doing this was her saying, listen, I have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. I didn't do this.
But it's easier to say because it's a geographical problem, right? The same way Tolu, for example, said, oh, she's the woman of the year. I don't think that it's going to be the same situation with the kind of people we have in Nigeria. If a woman decides, oh, you know what, I want their identities out there, I don't care if my identity is out there. At the end of the day, there's a possibility that those people get away with it, you're left with the shame. And trust Nigerians to do justice to shaming you every single day.
So, Blessings, here's my only counter to that. You're absolutely right. It is the fact that you are right that is the problem that we're facing.
Exactly.
That men, first of all, are carrying out these acts. But women are helping the men by being rape apologists because they do not know any better themselves. I'm telling you that there are women who, a girl can come and tell her mother, so-and-so happened to me, and the mother is the one that says, hey, shh,
oh, well, you were,
keep quiet, don't say anything. True. He's your father, he's your brother, whatever. And uncle. If more women came out and said, you know what, even if you shame me, even if you stone me, even if you tell me I'm a prostitute, even if you point every finger at me, I am pointing my finger at the person who did this.
Yes.
I'm not going to take responsibility for it. If more women did it, more women would do it.
Well, so most times the situation is dicey because most of the time we have children falling victim of this. Yeah. They don't know better. They don't know to be, activists for themselves, especially when their mother tells them to keep quiet. It's your father, don't do it. So eventually what happens is when they've grown and then they've realized that it has messed with them mentally, physically, they now realize that what their parents did was wrong, and that's when they begin to fight it. So most times we see a younger generation falling victim who can't fight for themselves.
Very true. And that's why you need a you, a me, a her, and every other, a Giselle Pellicott, and every other person who says, I do not care about what you're going to say. What shame is, the vehicle that shame is driven on is the vehicle of people's perception and people's validation.
What will they say?
Yes.
How
So
will they treat me?
Exactly. They're going to withdraw their validation from me if I am presented in this certain way. And when you say to a person, hey, listen, I do not care whether you validate me or not, you can withdraw it. You lose the power immediately. And I think women need to come into a place where we are aware that we are just as human, just as valid. We are not second-class human beings. When we are able to rewire our own thinking, then you can come out and say, hey, listen, this person is the person that raped me, and I don't care what you say about it. He did it. Whether anybody else accepts it or not, he did it. That's it.
So I want to share a little bit more. So Dominic Pellicott has been found guilty and sentenced, I don't like the sentence, to 20 years in prison for drugging his ex-wife, raping her and inviting dozens of men to abuse her over nearly a decade along with other charges. 20 years. I think that the magnitude of what he has done, what he exposed her to, is much more. But again, as we spoke about when we talked about the foul story from Ogun State, Oyo State, which there's actually an update and more information, it is the limits of the law. So I think that even whether it's in France or anywhere, the law needs to be expanded. Because women, not just women, children, even men who are raped and assaulted carry the stigma and carry the shame, carry the scars, both whether physical or mental, forever. And so 20 years for bringing in over 50 men
the person that should even get 20 years is the AIDS guy who knew, because that's
that one should be life sentence.
I think that all of
that one should be life sentence.
Yeah, they should all.
So let's talk about the men a little bit. That's what I wanted to go. So he, thankfully, in a way, he didn't try to defend himself. Dominic Pellicott actually did admit the charges. 72 years old. He was on trial. So most of the 50 men who were on trial came from towns and villages which were about 50 kilometers radius around Giselle Pellicott's own home. These are not necessarily strangers. These are people she would pass in the market, people she would see on the road, firefighters, lorry drivers, soldiers, security guards, a journalist, a DJ were among the men. I'm telling. So I had to go and look and say, who were the men on trial for raping her? These are everyday men. What she said, they were brothers, neighbors, uncles, fathers, husbands. Yes, there was a pastor or a priest among them.
People that are supposed to keep you safe. I mean, a soldier? Come on, you guys. And you're telling me that no. As many women as can should come out. And I honestly hope that there's some sort of outcry here, even though it might not be able to, for the sentencing. If that man is only going to be in jail for 20 years, he should probably be tortured every single day of the 20 years. Yeah, absolutely.
So at the end of the day, we've heard that sentencing will be happening sometime soon. Many of the men have been found guilty of aggravated rape. Some already sentenced, and also they found out that some of them were also having child porn imagery. Like, it was really a straight line. For somebody who would go on a website and be recruited to come and rape an unconscious woman, it's almost a straight line to find something else.
And I think that we didn't get enough people rally around her as should.
People did, though.
Yeah, but I don't think that it was enough. As compared to if, for example, she had found out, maybe woken up in one of the sessions and just stabbed one of them. You would have seen a lot of justice for this. Yes. So I think that it could have been more.
But she trended for a few days and then it could have
And we've kept our eye on it and we'll continue to keep our eye on it. There's a lot of stories. It's been a hectic week for us here on Jasiri, but we know that we're wrapping things up tomorrow with Hot Topic Special. So we'll see you 10 a.m. West African time with all the big stories of the week. Do have a good one.